Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jake and today we are going to be talking about Avowed. Now I have talked about this game a few times on the channel over the years and I've always been pretty critical of it. Now I think Obsidian is a great studio and I think they have great potential. However, the Outer Worlds just didn't hit for me, and at first I was very excited for Avowed when it was first revealed because from what we heard it was basically going to be a competitor to Skyrim. It's going to be Obsidian's take on Skyrim. Of course, that didn't turn out to be true. The scope got a lot smaller than a lot of us expected, and upon being told it was essentially going to be like the Outer Worlds, I lost quite a lot of hope, so I've always been very critical of this. However, during Gamescom, they came out with a 30-minute gameplay presentation which I have watched, and I've also watched some other YouTubers who have actually played the game and give their thoughts, so I have like a whole bunch of notes which I'm going to go through today. Kind of give my opinion on it, and to be honest, it's looking a lot better than I thought it would. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. First of all, I want to talk about the conversations because that is the big thing in Obsidian games. Obviously, it's always the dialogue and the stories, and it looks like they have really gone all out here. There are a lot of conversation options, like a lot. Like dialogue is going to be a massive part of this game, which obviously, you know, you'd kind of expect coming from Obsidian, but it's just nice to get confirmation and just to kind of see how in depth it really goes because it is kind of insane. But the thing that I noticed that really surprised me and I thought was a really cool feature was the kind of like, you have a lore tab when you're conversating with people, so you can literally pull up a menu and it will tell you a bunch of lore, not only about the world but about the character that you're talking to and stuff. So just in case you kind of forget something, or maybe you're brand new to the series and you don't really understand who someone is, you can just pull it up and the game will tell you everything about them so you can kind of get up to speed, which I think is really nice. And you can also get a conversation history tab, so you can see what you've said to this character. You know, you can see all of your conversation history, which again is a really cool thing. I don't know why I'd never thought of this when playing RPGs before. It's never just come in my head, but like, that is a really cool feature, because if you take quite a long break from the game and then you come back to a playthrough, you can relatively quickly, you know, relearn all the lore that you've forgotten and, you know, check what you've talked to this character about, who they are. You can do that with relative ease, and that's going to help a lot during quests, especially for someone like me. I am terrible at remembering characters. I don't remember character names and I don't really remember who they are half the time. So having that tool is going to be incredibly helpful with quests and stuff. So yeah, it's not something I never thought of, but when I seen it, I was like, oh my god, this is like the best thing I've ever seen. This is amazing. I think that's a really cool feature, and I just want to give Obsidian props for that because that's amazing. But let's talk about combat, because this is the thing that I've always been very critical of with this game, because the combat has always looked pretty bad. Here in the gameplay that we've seen, it looks a lot better, but there are some problems which I'll get into in a minute. But let's just talk about the good stuff for now. First of all, casting spells looks awesome. You actually like pull them out from the book. They have really cool animations and stuff. They look powerful. The spells look amazing, and this might genuinely be the first RPG where I actually play as a mage, because I never ever play as a mage in any game. I usually find it just really boring. But this game looks like they've absolutely nailed it. It looks so cool just to like whip out these spells and go mental with it. I think they've done a really good job in the animation and visual department with that. Obviously, I don't know how it's going to feel to actually play it, but from what I've heard, it feels pretty good too to cast spells, so that's looking like a good option. And then you also have the Ranger, which is also apparently pretty good. It feels good. So that might be another one. Maybe combo those together, be like a Ranger Mage, if that's even possible. But yeah, the combat looks very cool. It looks very fast and fluid. The arenas that you're fighting enemies in look really well designed, which I would kind of hope so, since this is a bit more of a linear game. But yeah, it does look really well designed. It looks like it's going to be a ton of fun to fight. And I was actually watching these combat scenarios and thinking, oh, that actually looks fun. I actually want to do that, which isn't something that I've ever felt when watching Avowed before. So they clearly did something right there. But the melee is the big thing that I want to talk about, because that's the thing that's always kind of worried me and still does quite a bit. And according to Maddie Plays, my worries aren't unjustified, because he claims that the melee actually feels worse than Skyrim at some points, like more floaty than Skyrim. He basically said that the melee is awful and he doesn't recommend you play it. There just isn't, you know, much oomph to it. It doesn't feel great, which does not surprise me in the least. Again, everything we saw in terms of melee has looked rather lackluster. So that's something that sucks, but again, I think it is kind of to be expected. But again, we've all played Skyrim, you know, we've loved Skyrim for all of these years, so it's not something that I think is going to ruin the game. But it just does suck that once again there is no good melee option in an RPG. You know, for once I would like that. Obviously Kingdom Come Deliverance absolutely nailed it. I kind of wish some developers would take note from that a little bit and kind of try implement a system a bit similar to that. But yeah, apparently melee just isn't that good, but that's okay because, you know, at least spellcasting and, you know, being a ranger looks like a ton of fun. It just sucks that like we're limited to that once again in one of these games. But back on to some of the positive stuff, let's talk about the world, because the world again is also something I have been very, very critical of. I've always been very open that this game looks like shit. I didn't like the art style of it, I didn't like the colors, I didn't like anything that we've really seen. It looked like very like linear and just unimmersive. Again, very similar to the Outer Worlds. I had the same complaints for that game. But in this gameplay snippet, I have to say it looks a lot better. Now, I'm not sure if they were using RTX for this, ray tracing. I think it's very possible that the game did get announced to have ray tracing support, and in that comparison video, it's like day and night, like actually day and night. I feel like this is a game where ray tracing is going to make a massive difference and you're actually going to have to play, because the original without ray tracing looks like it's going to kind of make me feel motion sick. Once again, similar to the Outer Worlds, just the way the colors are, just it's like too overly bright, too cartoony. I can't describe it, but it just makes me feel sick. And then with ray tracing on, it looks like, you know, an actual game. It looks like good. So I feel like this is going to be one of the few games where you need ray tracing. Again, I'm not sure if this footage was captured with ray tracing. I'm assuming it is because I like the look of it. But if not, then they've clearly done a lot of work since they last showed it off on the lighting and stuff. And it looks really, really good. Like graphically, the game looks really, really good, which is like a massive step up from like 2 years ago when we seen that original trailer and I was like tearing that apart, talking about trees. But yeah, I'm happy to say that the game looks great. Now, I'm still not a fan of like the linear stuff. Obviously, I wish the game was, you know, a huge open world. But I have been thinking about this a lot for like the last year. And I think I am starting to warm up to it, because obviously the importance of the game is in the dialogue and, you know, the choices that you can make and like sort of the role playing. And I think if that's done really well, which as we have seen in this gameplay, it looks to be done very well, then I don't think it's gonna matter that much. Like, yeah, it's still gonna suck, but like I feel like I can kind of get over it. Whereas with the Outer Worlds, even though it had good like role-playing options, I just really didn't like the combat, and the level design and art style was just like really, really horrible to look at for me. Avowed looks like it's at least better than that. Again, it is still like a linear sort of thing, but at the very least, it looks better than the Outer Worlds, and I think that's going to be like a big deal for me. It's going to definitely, you know, depend on whether I can play through it or not. But just getting back to the level design quickly, because this is something that I really wanted to point out. So in this gameplay, they shown a lot of parkour, as they called it, where you can kind of like climb up ledges and, you know, get to secret hidden loot. But they were also kind of dropping through a lot of holes and stuff and sneaking their way around. And again, the level design just looks to be in a way that's very diverse in your playstyle. Like, yeah, you can go in and just like, you know, run and spell, you know, and just like kill everybody in the room. Or you can really take your time and you can find like secret alternative routes and then like kind of sneak your way through the level in various different ways. And I just think that again is something cool. In something like Skyrim, of course, we never got that option really. You go into a dungeon and you fight your way through the dungeon and then you get to the end of the dungeon. That's like it. There wasn't really any secret paths or much that you could do. You know, you had to just pretty much fight through it. But with Avowed, it looks like they want to be a lot more open to player possibilities with this. You know, they want you to be able to embrace your play style and kind of play how you want to play. And I just think that's really neat. I think the level design here, especially like in terms of dungeons and stuff, I think is going to be really, really cool. And again, I think that's going to help a lot with replayability. Because again, in the Outer Worlds, it was something that I didn't feel was there really. Again, it worked very similar to Skyrim in regards to, you know, you walk through a building and you fight people. Like every single time you were just like, you know, doing the same thing over and over. This at least looks like it adds some sort of different play styles to it and different routes you can take, and I think that's not only going to help replayability, but it's also just going to help your current playthrough feel fresh, because you can just do things in completely different ways, you know, each time. You don't have to go into a dungeon the same way every single time. You can go, okay, I'm bored of sneaking around, now I'm going to go out guns blazing. Or you can go, you know, I'm bored of going guns blazing, I'm going to actually sneak around and try to find some alternative routes this time. And I just think that's really cool, and it's something that I wanted to you know, highlight and talk about. Because I do want to once again give Obsidian credit for that. The level design does look really awesome in this. And in terms of the parkour as well, I think it's notable that, you know, the world's going to have a lot of verticality to it as well, which again is going to make it feel a bit bigger. Apparently this game is going to be a lot more dense than the Outer Worlds, which I think is a really good thing. But I do still have my concerns. Again, how good is exploration going to feel? That's kind of where my main thing lies, because one of the main reasons I really didn't get into the Outer Worlds was because of that lack of exploration. It just never felt good to explore. You didn't really stumble upon anything like very cool or very naturally. So I'm hoping that not only is the world more dense here, but I'm hoping that the locations that you can kind of stumble upon in these like smaller semi-open world locations are a lot bigger and cooler. Just because, again, that is like a huge thing in these sort of games for me. Yes, the dialogue looks amazing. Yes, you know, there's a lot of choices and stuff, which is really, really cool and definitely going to be a big push for getting through the game. But at the end of the day, if the exploration is lackluster and there just isn't that many cool things for you to kind of stumble upon, I can feel myself getting burned out relatively quickly. Even if the combat is good, even if the level design is good, if there is nothing to explore and find, if there's only like quest locations that you can go to and like the most you can find is like a small bandit camp, you know, that's going to be really, really disappointing for me. I feel like you have to have stuff for the player to come across by themselves just out in the world, and I'm really skeptical that Avowed might not be able to do that, because they do keep comparing it to the Outer Worlds, and this does look a lot better than the Outer Worlds. But since it is an open world, I just am kind of wondering, you know, how much interesting stuff can you possibly fit into this world that isn't, you know, related to quests or anything necessarily. Just, again, interesting locations that you can kind of come across. But the final thing that I want to talk about is the FPS. It has been announced that Avowed is going to be targeting 30 FPS on the Xbox. Look, I don't play Xbox, so this doesn't affect me at all, but I do have an opinion on it, and that is that this is very stupid. Avowed doesn't look like a next-gen game. It doesn't look, you know, super realistic. It doesn't look like it's doing anything crazy. It looks good, but it doesn't look insane, and I don't think there's any reason that this shouldn't have a 60 FPS mode. It's not graphically pushing the boundaries or doing anything insane. Like, yeah, there's a lot of visual effects going on, so I guess you could argue for that. But even still, I just feel as though there's a standard now for 60 FPS on consoles. Even if like it is a performance mode and you have to cut back on some things, I think players need that choice, especially in a first-person game, because for me, if I play a first-person game and it is less than 60 FPS, I get motion sick. And I imagine a lot of console gamers are quite accustomed to that too now, so it's very possible they're also going to start getting motion sick when they have to go back to 30. I just don't think it's a very good look for the game, and I think it's definitely not acceptable either. I think it should definitely target 60 FPS. That's something that I think they really need to look into. I get it for the Xbox Series S, because that's like a lot weaker of a console, so I do understand why that might be locked to 30, but the Series X, I think absolutely should have a 60 FPS mode. Now bear in mind, this is just what they said they're targeting. This isn't like 100% confirmed or anything, but I mean, you know, it pretty much is, let's be honest. But yeah, I think I agree with people getting mad about this. I think it's unacceptable, and I think it's something that they definitely need to look into, because it just doesn't look like the kind of game that needs to be 30 FPS. Like, there's no reason for that, I don't think, at least not in the gameplay that I've seen. So yeah, that is pretty much all I've got to say about Avowed for now. It's looking better. It's looking, every time I see it, it's looking better than it last did, which is good. And it's recently just got delayed, which I think at first I didn't think was necessary. I thought that was a bit stupid of a move. I was kind of mad about it. But after seeing, you know, the gameplay and stuff again, I wouldn't argue against it, especially with the 30 FPS announcement. I think a delay definitely could be very helpful in that regard. But yeah, I'm still skeptical about it. You know, it's not getting like a free pass. I'm still kind of mixed on it. There's some good things, there's some bad things. I'm not really sure how I feel, but the good things look really, really good. Like I said, the spell casting looks absolutely amazing. You know, conversation, history, being able to see your lore and stuff. And again, the dialogue trees in general look massive, which is like really, really good. Again, you wouldn't expect anything less from Obsidian, but it's very good to see it regardless. But even still, there are some things that are making me look at this with a bit of a mixed bag kind of view. A little bit worried, a little bit skeptical. But I guess we'll see. It isn't too far away. It's a couple of months away now, so we'll see when it releases. I have my fingers crossed. I really, really want this game to be good. I'm expecting kind of like a mid sort of game at the moment. Like, you know, it's going to be really good in terms of the dialogue and the quests and that sort of thing, but it's going to lack in a lot of other areas, like, again, not the level design, because I was just complimenting that, but like the world design in general, I think could be weak, again, depending on how exploration is going to work in this. And of course, the actual combat as well. You know, the sword play isn't looking very great, but of course, you know, spells are looking very good. So again, bit of a mixed bag there, but we'll have to wait until release to, you know, see for ourselves. But that's enough from me anyway. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below what you think about Avowed. Is it winning you over? Do you have some concerns? Do you agree or disagree with the stuff that I've said in this video? Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because it helps out a ton. And be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Jake, and I will see you next time.